The containment cell was supposed to be foolproof. That's what Commander Thix told us when we dragged the human female aboard our warship 3 rotations ago. Quantum-sealed barriers, he said with that smug, clicking sound our species makes when we think we are clever. Psionic dampeners, neural inhibitors. Nothing gets out. Well, Commander Thu was about to learn something new about humans. My name is Vorth, and I have been a xenobiologist for the Galactic Coalition for 47 standard cycles. I have studied over 300 species, dissected their biology, mapped their psychology, predicted their behaviors. I thought I understood predators. I thought I understood prey. I was wrong about everything. The human sat in the center of her cell, legs crossed, hands resting on her knees. She looked peaceful, almost meditative. Her name was Maya Torres, according to the data we'd pulled from her ship's computer before we vaporized it. 28 Earth years old, former military, cargo hauler for the past 5 years. Subject appears docile. I dictated to my recording device, tentacles dancing across the control panel. No signs of aggression or escape attempts. Typical mammalian stress indicators are absent, but her eyes were wrong. They weren't the eyes of prey. They weren't even the eyes of a predator at rest. They were the eyes of something calculating, something waiting. Dr. Vorth, my assistant, Kelm, gestured toward the monitoring screens with his secondary arms. Her biometrics are unusual. I slithered closer to examine the readouts. Heart rate steady at 62 beats per minute. Brain activity elevated in the frontal cortex and… Wait, that couldn't be right. Run the scan again, I ordered. The results came back identical. Her brain wasn't just active. It was hyperactive in regions associated with spatial reasoning, pattern recognition, and weapon targeting systems. Impossible, I muttered. She's a cargo hauler, a civilian. Maya Torres looked up at that moment and her lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Except it wasn't warm. It wasn't friendly. It was the kind of smile a surgeon makes before the first incision. Is there something you want to ask me, Doc? Her voice carried through the comm system, calm and conversational. I should have stayed silent. Protocol demanded it. But curiosity killed more than just Earth cats, apparently. How do you know I'm a doctor? She tilted her head and that not-quite smile widened. Because you have been staring at those screens for 10 minutes, muttering in scientific standard about biometrics and impossibilities. Either you are a doctor or you are the worst torturer in galactic history. Kelm's chromatophores flashed yellow with alarm. She shouldn't understand scientific standard. Oh, I speak 7 languages. Fluently. Maya said, as if she'd heard him perfectly through the supposedly soundproof barrier. Want to test my thrikari? My syntax is a little rusty, but I can still tell you exactly what your ancestors did with their egg sacs that would make your grandmother molt with shame. I felt my own chromatophores betray me, flushing deep purple with embarrassment. Kelm actually chittered with what sounded like nervous laughter. Fascinating, I said, trying to regain my scientific composure. Your psychological profile suggests you are an unremarkable freight pilot. Yet you display linguistic capabilities consistent with diplomatic or intelligence training. Profile? Maya leaned back against the cell wall, still maintaining that predatory calm. Oh, you mean the one from my ship's computer. The one I specifically designed to make me look boring and harmless. The temperature in the lab seemed to drop several degrees. You falsified your own records? Honey, I have been falsifying records since before your species learned to count past their tentacles. She stood up in one fluid motion, and suddenly the cell seemed much smaller. The question isn't what I have been hiding. The question is what you people want with me. Commander Thak chose that moment to slither into the lab, his carapace gleaming with fresh polish. He was clearly expecting to find a broken, terrified prisoner ready for interrogation. Instead, he found Maya Torres standing with her arms crossed, looking for all the world like she was conducting the meeting. Ah, our human specimen. Thick seed clicked with satisfaction. I trust the initial examinations have been enlightening? Oh, extremely, Maya replied before I could speak. For instance, I have learned that your ship's artificial gravity generators run on a triphase quantum loop, which explains the slight vibration in deck plating every 4.7 seconds. I have learned that your species has a nasty habit of underestimating other life forms. And I have learned that you are all about to make the biggest mistake in your pathetically short existence. The sassy eye stalk swiveled toward me. Doctor, has the subject been administered truth serums? No, Commander. She's been completely unmedicated. Then how is she speaking freely? Maya interrupted. Because unlike the rest of the galaxy, I wasn't raised to be polite to kidnappers. The silence that followed was thick enough to slice. The silence that followed was thick enough to slice. The Siling's chromatophores cycled through several colors before settling on an angry orange. You will show proper respect to your superiors, human. Maya's laugh was sharp and cold. Superior? You grabbed one unarmed cargo hauler from the edge of nowhere space. And you think that makes you superior? Sweetheart, if I'm the best the human race has to offer, you people are in for a very rude awakening. The human race is scattered across barely 24 primitive worlds. Thek snapped. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your military is non-existent beyond your own star system. Is it? Maya's expression didn't change, but something in her voice made my chromatophores flash warning colors involuntarily. How exactly would you know? Because we have been monitoring your species for 50 cycles, we have complete intelligence reports on your capabilities, your population, your industrial capacity. Maya started laughing. Really laughing, with her head thrown back and tears forming in her eyes. When she finally stopped, she looked at Thuk with something approaching pity. Oh, you beautiful, stupid creatures. You really think you have been watching us? The lab's emergency lighting suddenly flickered. Just for a second. But in that brief moment, every screen in the room displayed the same message. Hello, Vorth. Then everything went back to normal. Except nothing was normal. Because the message had been in my personal script. The one I used for private research notes. The one that existed nowhere in the ship's computer system. Did you see? I began, but Kelm was already checking the screens frantically. No anomalies detected, he reported, chromatophores flashing confusion. All systems operating normally. Maya was watching me with those calculating eyes. Something wrong, Doc. How did I What? Her voice was innocence itself. I'm locked in a quantum-sealed cell with psionic dampeners. I couldn't affect your systems even if I wanted to. But she had. Somehow, impossibly, she had. Commander Thak was oblivious to the exchange, too focused on his own superiority complex. Enough games. I want to know about human military installations. Defensive capabilities. Fleet. Position. Maya's smile returned. Sure, I can tell you about human military capabilities. She moved to the center of the cell and suddenly her entire demeanor changed. The casual slouch disappeared. Her spine straightened, her hands fell to her sides in a position that looked relaxed but somehow wasn't. The first thing you need to understand about human military doctrine is that we don't have one. The cock's eye stalks narrowed. Explain. Every other species in the galaxy has military doctrine. Rules. Protocols. Predictable patterns of behavior. Humans. She shook her head. We have suggestions. Guidelines. Gentle recommendations that get ignored the moment someone gets creative. That's a weakness, not a strength. Maya's laugh was sharp as broken glass. Is it? Let me tell you about a human named Jack Murphy. Cargo hauler, just like me. 3 years ago his ship got jumped by Corvani pirates near the Outer Rim. I knew the story. Every xenobiologist did. It was used as an example of human unpredictability in our textbooks. Murphy was outnumbered 50-1, Maya continued. Outgunned, outclassed. By any reasonable military doctrine he should have surrendered. Instead, he rammed his cargo ship into the pirate flagship and detonated his engine core. Said dismissively. Suicidal bravado. It proves humans are irrational. Does it? Maya tilted her head. Murphy's cargo was medical supplies bound for a colony world. Kids were dying. The pirates wanted to ransom the medicine. She paused, letting that sink in. Murphy didn't die because he was irrational. He died because he did the math. 1 life versus 10,000. Simple arithmetic. Self-sacrifice for the greater good is hardly unique to humans, I observed. Oh, but you are missing the best part, Maya said, and that predatory smile was back. Murphy didn't just ram the flagship. While he was flying toward it, he broadcast the entire pirate fleet's position, course and speed on every emergency frequency in 3 sectors. The lab went quiet except for the hum of the ship's systems. 15 minutes later, a human patrol squadron dropped out of hyperspace right on top of the remaining pirates. Murphy had calculated their response time to the microsecond. The cake's chromatophores had shifted to a pale yellow.
Impossible.
No one could have predicted. The patrol squadron was conducting training exercises 2 light-years away. Maya interrupted. Murphy knew their schedule because his brother was the squadron leader. Family dinner conversation from 6 months earlier. I felt something cold slither down my spine. He planned the entire engagement? While flying a cargo hauler with failing engines toward 50 armed pirates. Yes, he calculated trajectories, response times, communication delays, and psychological factors, all in about 90 seconds. Maya moved closer to the barrier, and even though I knew it was impossible, I swear I could feel her presence pressing against the containment field. That's what you people don't understand about humans. We don't have military doctrine because we don't need it. Every single human is their own military doctrine. The ship's lights flickered again. This time, the message that flashed across every screen lasted longer. Murphy wasn't special. When the systems returned to normal, Maya was standing perfectly still in the center of her cell. But something had changed. The air itself seemed different. Heavier, more dangerous. Dr. Vorth, she said quietly, how long have I been on your ship? 3 rotations. I replied automatically. 3 rotations. 72 standard hours. She nodded thoughtfully. That's plenty of time. Time for what? Instead of answering, Maya looked directly at Commander Thek. Tell me, Commander, how many ships in your fleet? The Kerg's carapace bristled. That information is classified. 47, Maya said calmly. 12 heavy cruisers, 28 destroyers, 7 support vessels. The flagship is the Hegemony's Pride, a Nexus-class dreadnought with quantum shielding and trilithium torpedo arrays. The color drained from the tech's chromatophores entirely. Your personal quarters are on Deck 12, Section 7. You have a collection of crystalline sculptures from the Andorian cluster, and you are particularly proud of the one that looks like a dying star. You also have a weakness for fermented kelp wine, which explains why your reaction time has been degraded by 0.3 seconds for the past 2 days. I watched Commander Thek's composure crumble in real time. How could you possibly know all that? Maya's smile was razor-sharp now. Same way I know that Dr. Vorth here has been running unauthorized experiments on sentient tissue samples, that Kelm has been embezzling from the ship's supply budget, and that your chief engineer has been selling hyperspace coordinates to smugglers for the past 8 months. The silence in the lab was deafening. You see, gentlemen, you made a fundamental error when you captured me. You assumed I was alone. Another flicker. This time, the screen showed a 3-dimensional tactical display of the surrounding star system. Red dots appeared throughout the display. Dozens of them, all moving in perfect coordination toward our position. Allow me to introduce you to the concept of bait, Maya said conversationally. It's an ancient human hunting technique. You put something tempting in an obvious place, wait for the predator to take it, then spring the trap. The tactical display zoomed in, showing our fleet in the center of a steadily tightening ring of red contacts. 47 ships seemed like a lot when you were hunting one unarmed cargo hauler, Maya continued. How does it feel now that you are facing 300? The chip's voice came out as a strangled whisper. Impossible. Our long-range sensors would have detected. Your long-range sensors are detecting exactly what we want them to detect, Maya said. You know what humans are really good at, Commander? We are good at making people underestimate us. She gestured toward the tactical display, which was now showing estimated time to contact 14 minutes. For the past 50 cycles, you have been watching our primitive colony worlds with your superior technology. cataloging our capabilities, planning your conquest. Maya's laugh was cold enough to freeze liquid hydrogen. Sweethearts, you weren't monitoring us. We were auditioning you. The deck plating vibrated slightly as the ship's engines spun up to combat speed. You people tested well, Maya continued, as alarms began to wail throughout the ship. Decent technology, adequate numbers, sufficient arrogance to make good test subjects. Test subjects for what? I managed to ask. Maya looked at me with something that might have been sympathy. For the next phase of human expansion. Of course, the lights went out. When the emergency illumination kicked in a few seconds later, Maya Torres was no longer in her cell. She was standing right behind Commander Thek, one hand resting gently on his carapace. In her other hand was a device I didn't recognize, but the soft blue glow and quantum hum told me it was some kind of neural interface. Now then, she said pleasantly, let's talk about surrender terms. But Commander Thicky was beyond talking. Beyond moving. The neural interface had locked his motor functions while leaving his consciousness intact. He could see and hear everything, but his body was completely paralyzed. Barbaric, Kelm chittered, backing toward the door. Practical, Maya corrected. Though if you prefer, I could demonstrate some of our more creative interrogation techniques. She touched a control on the device, and Thek's eye stalks began moving in perfect synchronization, tracing mathematical patterns in the air. Fascinating species, Maya mused, watching the involuntary movements. So much information stored in those neural clusters, military codes, fleet positions, supply routes, political hierarchies. The patterns the Korg's eye stalks were tracing became more complex, almost hypnotic. Did you know that your people's neural architecture makes you incredibly susceptible to recursive algorithm infiltration? Probably not. It's not the kind of thing you'd think to test. I realized with growing horror that she wasn't just extracting information from Thek's mind. She was rewriting it. Stop, I said weakly. You are changing him. Maya glanced at me with genuine surprise. Changing him? Doc, I'm improving him. She touched another control and suddenly Thek's body language shifted. His posture became more confident, more purposeful. Commander, Thek now understands the true nature of this conflict. Maya explained. He recognizes the futility of resistance. He's eager to cooperate with human forces. Brainwashing, Kelm accused. Education, Maya replied. The end result is the same, but the method is much more humane than your species' traditional approach. The ship shuddered as something massive impacted the hull. Outside I could see flashes of weapons fire through the observation ports. Right on schedule, Maya said, checking a timepiece on her wrist. Your fleet is discovering that human ships don't behave quite the way your sensors suggested they would. Another impact. Stronger this time. Tell me, Dr. Vorth, what do you know about human ship design philosophy? I tried to focus through the growing panic. Basic hull configurations. Primitive propulsion systems. Minimal shielding. Minimal visible shielding, Maya corrected. Would it surprise you to learn that every human ship in that fleet is equipped with adaptive camouflage, quantum displacement fields, and multi-layered defensive systems that make your superior technology look like children's toys? The observation ports suddenly filled with light as something exploded in the distance. That would be the Corvani's wrath, Maya said, consulting her timepiece again. A Nexus-class dreadnought, just like yours. Took exactly 7 minutes to crack. Commander Thek, still under the influence of Maya's neural interface, nodded approvingly. Efficient. The human battle doctrine emphasizes maximum psychological impact through rapid elimination of primary targets. It was deeply disturbing to hear Th speak with Maya's words while retaining his own voice. The beauty of it, Maya continued, is that your remaining ships are now forced to choose between fighting an enemy they can't properly target or surrendering to a species they have been trained to consider inferior. Another series of explosions lit up the viewport. Most of them are choosing surrender, she observed. Smart. Your species has excellent survival instincts. The ship's intercom crackled to life. All hands. This is Captain Drex. We are officially surrendering to human forces. Prepare for boarding parties. Maya smiled and disconnected the neural interface from Thak's carapace. The commander blinked several times, his chromatophores cycling through confused patterns before settling on resigned gray. "You are not going to kill us?" he asked quietly. "Kill you?" Maya looked genuinely puzzled. "Why would we kill you? You are far too valuable alive." She gestured toward the viewport, where sleek human ships were now visible, moving with predatory grace between the disabled alien vessels. "You see, Commander, humans have a very different approach to conquest than most species. We don't destroy civilizations, we recruit them." The implications of that statement hit me like a physical blow. "You are building an empire, an alliance," Maya corrected. "Though I suppose the distinction is largely semantic from your perspective." The lights in the lab brightened as human technicians took control of the ship's systems. Within minutes the door slid open and 3 figures entered. They looked perfectly human. 2 males, 1 female. Unremarkable clothing, casual postures. If I had seen them in a civilian setting, I would have dismissed them as typical freight workers or merchants. But they moved with the same predatory calculation I had seen in Maya. And their eyes were wrong. "Status report," the female said without preamble. "Complete intelligence acquisition," Maya replied. "Full fleet surrender. Minimal casualties. Resistance level? Negligible." The target species demonstrated typical hierarchical compliance patterns once primary command structure was compromised. I listened to this exchange with growing dread. They were talking about us the way scientists discuss laboratory specimens. "Excellent," the male on the left said. "Integration timeline? 6 to 8 months for full cultural assimilation," Maya estimated. "The species shows strong adaptability markers and existing technological infrastructure. They will make excellent additions to the fleet." "Fleet?" I managed to croak. All 4 humans turned to look at me with that same calculating expression. "Did we forget to mention?" Maya asked with mock innocence. "You are not being conquered. You are being recruited. Welcome to the Human Space Navy, Dr. Vorth." The ship shuddered again as human vessels locked onto our hull with docking clamps. "Don't worry," Maya continued. "You will love it. We have excellent benefits, full medical coverage, educational opportunities, and the chance to participate in the most ambitious expansion project in galactic history." "What expansion project?" Calm whispered. Maya's smile was bright and terrifying. "The one where we introduced the rest of the galaxy to human military doctrine." Outside the viewport, more human ships were arriving. Dozens of them, all perfectly disguised as harmless civilian vessels, until the moment they had opened fire. "You see," Maya said, settling into a chair with casual confidence, "every species in the galaxy makes the same mistake. They see humans and think they understand us. Primitive, emotional, unpredictable." She gestured toward the growing human fleet. "But unpredictability becomes quite predictable when you have enough data points, and humans have been very, very busy collecting data." A new voice came through the ship's intercom. "Human, female. Speaking perfect galactic standard with just a hint of accent. Attention all coalition personnel. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Space Navy. Your fleet has been integrated into our operational structure. Report to your assigned human liaisons for processing and orientation." Maya stood up and straightened her uniform. I noticed for the first time that it wasn't civilian clothing at all. It was a military uniform, designed to look like civilian clothing. "Time to go," she said cheerfully. "You are about to learn why humans don't need military doctrine." As we were escorted from the lab by human soldiers who looked like merchants and moved like apex predators, I caught one last glimpse of the tactical display. The red dots representing human ships now filled the entire screen. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. "How long?" I asked weakly. "How long have you been planning this?" Maya paused at the doorway and looked back at me with something that might have been sympathy. "Dr. Vorth," she said gently, "humans have been planning this since the day we first looked up at the stars." The door closed behind us, and I realized that everything I thought I knew about the galaxy had just changed forever. The first noise from Maya Torres hadn't been a scream. It had been target lock, and we had never even realized we were the targets. The human ship was nothing like what our intelligence reports had described. Oh, the outer hull matched perfectly. Primitive welding. Basic alloy composition. Energy signatures consistent with outdated fusion reactors. But once you got past the carefully constructed facade, everything changed. The corridors were too wide, the ceiling too high. The gravity felt wrong, somehow more natural than our own ship's artificial field. And the walls hummed with power that shouldn't have existed. Impressive, isn't it? Maya Torres walked beside me, no longer bothering with her harmless cargo hauler act. Her posture was military straight, her eyes constantly scanning for threats that didn't exist. We call it adaptive camouflage. The ship literally reshapes its energy signature to match whatever profile we need. Admiral Sarah Chen waited for us in what I had expected to be a primitive command center. Instead, I found myself in a space that made our most advanced bridge look like a child's toy. Holographic displays floated in midair, showing real-time tactical information from across 3 sectors. The walls themselves were displays, cycling through data streams that tracked everything from ship positions to individual crew biometrics. And at the center of it all, Admiral Chen stood with the casual confidence of someone who controlled forces beyond my comprehension. She was tall for a human, with graying hair and eyes that missed nothing. When she looked at me, I felt like a specimen under a microscope. "Dr. Vorth," she said, her voice carrying the kind of authority that made even Commander Thick straighten his posture. "Maya tells me you are curious about human military capabilities. I'm beginning to think everything we know about humans is wrong," I admitted. Admiral Chen smiled, and it was somehow more terrifying than Maya's predatory grin. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this conversation for a very long time. "Not wrong, Doctor. Incomplete." She gestured to one of the floating displays, which immediately zoomed in to show our captured fleet. But something was off about the image. There were too many ships. "Your fleet consisted of 47 vessels when you departed Coalition space 3 rotations ago," Admiral Chen said calmly. "However, our records indicate that you have actually been operating with 63 ships for the past 18 months. I felt my chromatophores flush with confusion. "That's impossible. I know exactly how many ships." "You know what your computers told you," Maya interrupted. "Which was exactly what we wanted you to know." The display shifted, showing ship schematics that I recognized as Coalition designs. Except they weren't quite right. The hull configurations were slightly different. The weapon placements were wrong. The engine specifications didn't match. 16 of your ships have been human constructs for over a year," Admiral Chen explained. "Perfect replicas, down to the molecular level. Your crews never knew the difference." Commander Thick, who had been silent since our arrival, finally found his voice. "Impossible. Our security protocols, our identification system, were designed by the same species that created your military doctrine," Maya said with amusement. "Predictable, logical, easy to circumvent once you understand the underlying assumptions." Admiral Chen touched a control, and the display showed a detailed timeline. Points of light appeared across a map of Coalition space, marking dates and locations. "The first human infiltrator was placed 18 months ago," she said. "A merchant named David Park, who established trade relationships with 12 different worlds. He was followed by explorers, refugees, scientists, and diplomats." Each category appeared on the map as she spoke, showing a growing web of human presence throughout Coalition territory. "By the time your fleet departed to investigate reports of human expansion, we had operatives on every Coalition world, monitoring every military facility, tracking every ship movement. The scope of it was staggering. While we had been studying humans from a distance, they had been studying us from within our own society." "But why?" I asked. "If you had this level of infiltration capability, you could have simply assassinated our leadership, sabotaged our infrastructure. Why this elaborate deception?" Admiral Chen and Maya exchanged a look that spoke of shared knowledge and long-term planning. "Because assassination and sabotage create martyrs and resistance movements," Admiral Chen said. "We have learned that it's much more efficient to convince people that joining us was their idea." She touched another control, and the display showed psychological profiles. Thousands of them. Every major leader in Coalition space, analyzed down to their deepest motivations and fears. Your Commander Thekek, for example, is driven primarily by a desire for recognition and advancement. He dreams of being remembered as a great military strategist. The Cox chromatophores cycled through embarrassed purples. So we arranged for him to discover intelligence about human expansion. We made sure his superiors would assign him to lead the investigation. We even suggested the fleet composition that would make him feel confident of success. Maya picked up the explanation seamlessly. We gave him every opportunity to be the hero of his own story, right up until the moment we needed him to be something else. You manipulated him into attacking you. We manipulated him into recruiting himself, Admiral Chen corrected. Along with his entire fleet, the display shifted again, showing current ship positions. Our captured coalition vessels were being integrated into human formations with disturbing efficiency. Your crews are discovering that human technology is remarkably compatible with their existing training, Maya observed. In fact, they are finding that human systems are actually superior in most respects. I watched the tactical display with growing horror. Coalition ships were already operating under human command, their crews apparently content with their new assignments. How is that possible? Because we didn't just study your technology, Admiral Chen said. We improved it. She gestured toward a section of the display showing technical specifications. Coalition ship designs, but enhanced. Weapons with greater range and accuracy. Shields with improved efficiency. Engines with higher output. Every human merchant who visited Coalition space carried upgrade packages, Meyer explained. Small improvements, incremental advances, nothing dramatic enough to raise suspicions. But taken together, Admiral Chen continued, those upgrades transformed your entire fleet into something much more capable than your original designs. The implications hit me like a physical blow. You have been upgrading our military for us, while simultaneously ensuring that those upgrades would be useless against human forces, Maya added cheerfully. We know exactly how to counter every system we gave you. Admiral Chen pulled up another display. This one showing a star map that covered far more space than I had expected. Human positions were marked in blue, and there were a lot of them. The Coalition represents approximately 4% of known galactic civilization, she said calmly. Over the past 5 years, humans have established similar relationships with 37 other major powers. 37. You are not just recruiting the Coalition, I whispered. The Coalition is a pilot program, Admiral Chen confirmed. A proof of concept. We needed to verify that our integration protocols would work on a large scale before implementing them galaxy-wide. The star map zoomed out further, and I saw the true scope of human ambition, trade routes, military alliances, cultural exchange programs, diplomatic missions, all of it carefully orchestrated to create a web of influence that spanned known space. How long have you been planning this? I asked weakly. Maya and Admiral Chen exchanged another look, and I realized that this was the question they had been waiting for. Dr. Vorth, Admiral Chen said gently, when did humans first achieve faster-than-light travel? I searched my memory. Approximately 75 standard years ago, according to our records. According to the records we wanted you to have, Maya corrected. The real answer is 347 years ago. The lab around me seemed to spin. That's impossible. The Coalition has been monitoring human space for 50 years, yes, Admiral Chen said, during which time we allowed you to observe exactly what we wanted you to observe. The star map changed again, showing historical data. Human expansion had begun centuries ago, spreading slowly and carefully through regions the Coalition had never thought to monitor. We took our time, Maya explained. No dramatic expansion. No obvious military buildup, just quiet exploration and careful relationship building. And when we finally encountered other spacefaring civilizations, Admiral Chen continued, we made a strategic decision. Rather than announce ourselves as an established galactic power, we chose to appear as a young, primitive species just beginning to reach for the stars. Why? Because young, primitive species aren't threatening, Maya said. They don't trigger defensive responses. They are easy to dismiss, easy to underestimate, easy to study without being studied in return, Admiral Chen added. I felt like I was drowning in implications. Everything we know about human history is a carefully constructed narrative designed to make you comfortable with our presence, Admiral Chen confirmed. Your first contact protocols, your diplomatic procedures, your military assessments, all based on false assumptions we have encouraged you to make. The display showed more star maps, these ones marking first contact events between humans and various alien species. There were dozens of them, spread across centuries. We have been testing integration strategies on smaller civilizations for over 200 years, Maya explained. Refining our techniques, learning what works and what doesn't. The coalition was simply the largest test case to date, Admiral Chen said. And I'm pleased to report that the results exceeded our expectations. A new voice interrupted the conversation. Admiral, we have incoming priority communication from Sector 7. I turned to see another human, this one wearing the kind of casual civilian clothing that I now recognized as a military uniform in disguise. His expression was calm, professional, and completely terrifying. On screen, Lieutenant Ramirez. A holographic display materialized, showing the face of another human, female, middle-aged, with the same predatory confidence I was beginning to associate with their species. Admiral Chen, Operation Cascade is complete. The hegemony has officially voted to join the alliance. Admiral Chen nodded approvingly. Resistance level? Minimal. The integration of their military command structure proceeded according to protocol. Admiral Zorns has been receptive to our suggestions. Maya leaned toward me and whispered, Admiral Zorns commanded the most powerful fleet in hegemony space, 40,000 ships. He's been one of our assets for 6 months. I stared at the display in shock. The hegemony was the coalition's primary rival, a massive military power that controlled hundreds of star systems. And the syndicate? Admiral Chen asked. Phase 3 initiated as scheduled. We expect formal alliance within 2 months. The transmission ended, leaving me alone with the realization that everything I thought I knew about galactic politics was a lie. The hegemony and the syndicate are enemies, I said weakly. We're enemies, Admiral Chen corrected. Ancient grudges become much less important when both sides discover they have common interests, such as survival, Maya said bluntly. We gave both powers a choice. Join the alliance willingly or wait for us to make the choice for them. Most species choose to join willingly, Admiral Chen added. Once they understand the alternatives. She gestured toward another display showing current alliance membership. The list was staggering. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, military forces that dwarfed anything I had imagined. But surely someone must have noticed, I protested. The intelligence services, the military analysts, someone must have detected patterns. Oh, they did, Maya said with amusement. We have files on over 3,000 different intelligence reports documenting anomalous human activity. All of them were filed away and forgotten because the analysts couldn't conceive of an operation on this scale. Admiral Chen pulled up several documents, all marked with coalition intelligence headers. Your own people reported suspicious merchant activities, unusual diplomatic initiatives, and concerning technological developments, she said. But each report was evaluated in isolation. No one thought to combine them into a single picture. And the few analysts who did try to see the bigger picture, Maya added, found their careers mysteriously derailed. Budget cuts, reassignments, early retirements. You corrupted our intelligence services. We recruited them, Admiral Chen corrected. Though I suppose the end result is the same. The scope of human influence was becoming clear. Not just military infiltration, but economic, political, and cultural penetration at every level of galactic society. How many? I asked, quietly. How many what, Doctor? How many species have you recruited? Admiral Chen considered the question seriously. Currently active alliance members number 437 species across 12,000 inhabited worlds. My chromatophores went white with shock. That's nearly half of known galactic civilization. 43% to be precise, Maya confirmed. With another 22% in various stages of the integration process. I sank into a nearby chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what I was learning. What happens to the rest? I asked. The remaining 35% will be given the same choice everyone else received, Admiral Chen said calmly. Join willingly, or be convinced to join through more direct methods. And if they refuse? The silence that followed was more eloquent than any threat. Dr. Vorth, Admiral Chen said finally, in 347 years of expansion, no species has ever ultimately refused to join the alliance. Some take longer to convince than others, Maya added. But everyone comes around eventually. I looked around the command center, taking in the displays showing alliance forces spread across the galaxy. The numbers were staggering. The coordination was perfect. The efficiency was terrifying. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Why reveal the scope of your operation? Admiral Chen walked over to stand directly in front of me, her expression serious. Because, Dr. Vorth, you are going to help us complete it. I'm a xenobiologist. I study alien life forms. I'm not a strategist or a diplomat or... You are a scientist who has spent his career analyzing the behavior patterns of different species, Admiral Chen interrupted. You understand how civilizations think, how they react to stress, how they make decisions. Maya pulled up my personnel file on one of the displays. 47 years of experience, publications on 300 different species, expert analysis of psychological and cultural factors affecting interspecies relations. You are exactly what we need for the final phase, Admiral Chen said. What final phase? The star map reappeared, but this time it showed the remaining holdout civilizations, ancient powers, isolated empires, species that had resisted contact for millennia. The hard cases, Maya explained. Civilizations that won't be impressed by superior technology or overwhelming force. Species that would rather die than submit. Your expertise in Xenops psychology makes you uniquely qualified to develop integration strategies for these resistant populations, Admiral Chen said. I stared at the map, recognizing some of the species marked in red. The Eternal Conclave, the Void Touched, the Star Dreamers. Civilizations so alien that even the Coalition had given up trying to establish meaningful contact. You want me to help you figure out how to recruit species that don't even communicate in ways we understand? We want you to help us bring the galaxy together under a single banner of cooperation and mutual benefit, Admiral Chen corrected. By force, if necessary. By whatever means prove most effective, she said calmly. I looked around the command center again, seeing it with new eyes. This wasn't just a ship, it was the nerve center of the largest conspiracy in galactic history. A coordination hub for an operation that had been centuries in the making. What happens if I refuse? Maya's smile was sharp as a blade. Dr. Vorth, you are a scientist. You have dedicated your life to understanding the universe. We are offering you the chance to study species and civilizations that no one has ever successfully analyzed. We are offering you the opportunity to be part of the most significant moment in galactic history, Admiral Chen added. And if that doesn't motivate you, Maya continued, we can always demonstrate some of our more persuasive techniques. The neural interface device appeared in her hand as if by magic, its blue glow pulsing gently. Though we'd prefer your willing cooperation, Admiral Chen said. Voluntary participants tend to be more creative in their problem-solving approaches. I looked at the star map again, thinking about the implications. If humans succeeded in unifying the galaxy, it would end millennia of conflict and competition between species. It would create unprecedented opportunities for scientific advancement and cultural exchange. It would also mean the end of independence for every civilization in known space. The species you are targeting, I said slowly. Some of them are older than the rest of the galaxy combined. They have survived cosmic disasters, species extinctions, entire galactic cycles. What makes you think they will submit to human authority? Admiral Chen and Maya exchanged another look, and I realized I had asked exactly the right question. Dr. Vorth, Admiral Chen said, what do you know about the predecessors? I felt my chromatophores flush pale. The predecessors were legend. Ancient beings who had supposedly seeded the galaxy with life before vanishing into myth, theoretical civilization. no concrete evidence of existence. Regarded by most scientists as explanatory mythology for the statistical improbability of widespread intelligent life. Theoretical, Maya repeated with amusement. No concrete evidence. Admiral Chen touched a control and the display changed to show archaeological data, ruins, artifacts, technology, all bearing the same distinctive crystalline geometric patterns. We have been studying predecessor sites for over 2 centuries, she said calmly. Learning their technology, understanding their methods. The integration protocols we have been using throughout the galaxy, Maya added. The neural interfaces, the adaptive camouflage, all based on predecessor designs. I stared at the artifacts in shock. Some of them were clearly millions of years old. Others looked like they could have been built yesterday. You are saying that humans have inherited predecessor technology. We are saying that humans are the predecessors, Admiral Chen said quietly. The command center fell silent except for the hum of incomprehensibly advanced machinery. Impossible, I whispered. The species you call humanity emerged on Earth approximately 2 million years ago, Admiral Chen explained. But that wasn't our first attempt at galactic civilization. The display showed a timeline that stretched back millions of years. Rise and fall of multiple human civilizations, galactic empires that spanned millennia, technologies that transcended physical limitation. We have done this before, Maya said, multiple times, built galactic confederations, guided the development of younger species, watched as our civilizations eventually collapsed or transcended physical existence. Each time we leave behind seeds, Admiral Chen continued, hidden colonies, genetic archives, technology caches, waiting for the right moment to begin again. Earth was one of those seed colonies, Maya explained. A backup plan activated after our last galactic civilization transcended to higher dimensions approximately 65 million years ago. I thought about the timeline. 65 million years ago was when the Great Extinction event had occurred, wiping out the dominant species on most worlds and clearing the way for new evolutionary development. You caused the extinction event. We triggered a natural cycle, Admiral Chen corrected. Galactic civilizations have lifespans, just like individual organisms. When one reaches the end of its cycle, it's time for the next to begin. And now it's time for this cycle to end, Maya said, gesturing toward the star map showing current galactic civilization. The ancient species you mentioned? The eternal conclave? The void touched. They are remnants from previous cycles, survivors who refused to transcend when their time came. Admiral Chen pulled up detailed files on each of the holdout civilizations. They have been hiding in the spaces between normal galactic civilization for millions of years, avoiding contact, refusing to participate in the natural order. But every cycle must eventually end, Maya said, and this one is ending now. I stared at the data, trying to process the implications. You are not just building a galactic alliance, you are preparing for another transcendence event. The current cycle of galactic civilization has run its course, Admiral Chen confirmed. The species that join the alliance willingly will be prepared for transcendence. Those that resist will be left behind when the cycle resets. What does that mean exactly? Maya's smile was sad and terrible. It means, Dr. Wirth, that in approximately 50 years, every species in the galaxy will face the same choice: evolve beyond physical existence as part of a unified galactic consciousness, or remain trapped in material form when the universe moves on to its next phase. The command center around me suddenly felt much larger and much smaller at the same time. I was sitting in the nerve center of beings who had guided galactic evolution for millions of years. The integration process isn't about conquest, Admiral Chen explained gently. It's about preparation. Species that have been properly integrated will be ready for transcendence. They will have the psychological and technological frameworks necessary to make the transition. Those that haven't, Maya shrugged. Well, they will have 50 years to figure it out on their own. I looked at the star map again, seeing it with completely new understanding. The blue dots representing alliance members weren't conquered territories. They were lifeboats. And you want me to help convince the holdout species to accept salvation. We want you to help us save every possible life in the galaxy. Admiral Chen said. Even the ones who don't want to be saved. The scope of it was beyond anything I had ever imagined. Not just military conquest or political unification, but guided evolution on a galactic scale. What happened to the humans who transcended 65 million years ago? They are still around, Maya said casually, providing guidance, ensuring that each cycle improves on the last. You are in contact with them. Admiral Chen touched a control and the display changed to show something that made my chromatophores cycle through every color in my species' emotional spectrum. It was a being of pure energy, vaguely humanoid but clearly existing on a plane of reality far beyond physical matter, and it was looking directly at me through the display. Dr. Vorth, it said, its voice somehow conveying warmth and ancient wisdom despite having no physical vocal apparatus. Welcome to the Alliance. I fainted. When I regained consciousness, I was lying on a medical bed in what appeared to be a standard human medical facility, except the equipment was centuries ahead of anything I had seen before, and the walls hummed with power that felt older than stars. Maya Torres sat in a chair beside the bed reading something on a datapad. Feeling better? She asked, without looking up. Was that real? As real as anything gets at this level of existence, she confirmed. The transcended don't usually communicate directly with material beings, but they make exceptions for important moments. Important moments? Maya finally looked at me and her expression was surprisingly gentle. Dr. Vorth, you are about to become the architect of the final phase of galactic unification. That qualifies as important. I sat up slowly, my head still spinning from the implications of everything I had learned. How do I know any of this is true? How do I know you are not just incredibly sophisticated liars? Maya smiled and handed me the datapad she had been reading. Because, Doctor, we are about to give you access to predecessor archives that contain the complete history of galactic civilization going back 12 million years. I looked at the pad which displayed an access interface unlike anything I had ever seen. Everything is there, Maya continued. Every species that has ever achieved spaceflight. Every galactic confederation that has risen and fallen, every transcendence event, every choice point that led to salvation or extinction, and your species' complete psychological profiles for all of them, Admiral Chen added, appearing in the doorway, including detailed analysis of exactly what motivated each group to accept or reject transcendence. I stared at the datapad, realizing that it contained more knowledge than any xenobiologist had ever dreamed of accessing. You are giving me the keys to understanding every intelligent species in galactic history. We are giving you the tools to save them, Admiral Chen corrected. All of them. Even the ones who think they don't want to be saved. I activated the interface and immediately found myself immersed in data streams that contained detailed information about civilizations I had never heard of. Species so ancient that they predated current galactic geography. Transcendence events that had reshaped reality itself. There's so much, I whispered. Take your time, Maya said. You have 50 years to develop integration strategies for the holdout civilizations. 50 years to convince beings who have resisted contact for millions of years to trust us, Admiral Chen added. I looked up from the datapad, finally understanding the true scope of what they were asking. You want me to convince gods to become mortals? We want you to convince mortals to become gods, Maya corrected. There's a difference. Admiral Chen moved to the room's viewport, which showed the ongoing integration of coalition ships into alliance formations. The choice is always the same, Dr. Vorth. Evolution or extinction. Growth or stagnation. Unity or isolation. And time is running out for this galactic cycle, Maya added. The universe is preparing for its next phase of existence. We can either guide that transition or watch it happen without us. I returned to the datapad, absorbing information about transcendence events throughout galactic history. Some species had embraced the change eagerly. Others had fought it until the last possible moment. A few had chosen extinction rather than transformation. What happens to free will in all this? I asked. Free will means the freedom to choose, Admiral Chen replied. We are simply ensuring that everyone understands their options clearly, and that they have the preparation necessary to survive those choices, Maya added. I thought about my own species, now being integrated into alliance structures. Were they losing their independence, or gaining access to opportunities they could never have imagined? Dr. Vorth, Admiral Chen said gently, your people will be among the first to experience guided transcendence. They will help us refine the process for other species. As will every other Alliance member, Maya continued. By the time we approach the holdout civilizations, we will have centuries of successful experience to offer them. I looked at the star map again, seeing the blue dots representing Alliance members with new understanding. They weren't conquered territories or recruited assets. They were partners in the most ambitious project in cosmic history. And if I refuse to help? Maya's smile was sad but understanding. Then you will be reassigned to a comfortable research position where you can spend the next 50 years studying whatever interests you most. And when the transcendence event occurs, you will face the same choice as everyone else. Admiral Chen added, evolve or remain behind. But your expertise could save billions of lives, Maya said. Species that would otherwise choose extinction might be convinced to choose transcendence instead. I thought about the ancient civilizations hiding in the dark spaces between stars, being so old and powerful that they had watched entire galactic cycles rise and fall. What could I possibly say to convince them to trust humanity? The void touched, I said, pulling up their file on the datapad. They have existed in higher dimensional space for over 3 million years. They regard material existence as a prison, which makes them perfect candidates for transcendence, Maya pointed out. They already understand the limitations of physical reality. The star dreamers hibernate for thousands of years at a time, experiencing reality as a collective unconscious, I continued. They don't even acknowledge individual identity, so they are already practicing a form of unified consciousness, Admiral Chen observed. The transition to galactic group mind should be natural for them. I worked through the files analyzing each holdout civilization. The more I studied them, the more I realized that Maya and Admiral Chen were right. These weren't species that opposed transcendence. They were species that had been waiting for it. They are not resisting the next phase of existence, I said slowly. They are resisting contact with what they see as a primitive civilization that isn't ready for transcendence. Exactly, Maya said with satisfaction. They don't trust current galactic civilization to handle the transition responsibly. But they might trust a civilization that has successfully guided transcendence events for millions of years, Admiral Chen added. I looked at the datapad again, this time focusing on human transcendence events throughout galactic history. The pattern was consistent. Careful preparation, gradual integration, universal participation. You have never lost a species during transcendence. Not in 12 million years, Maya confirmed. Though some cycles have been more challenging than others. I set down the datapad and looked around the medical facility, realizing that I was sitting in the middle of the most significant moment in cosmic history. When do we start? Admiral Chen smiled. And for the first time since I had met her, it was a smile of pure joy. Dr. Vorth, she said, we started the moment you walked aboard this ship. Welcome to the Alliance, Maya added. Now let's go save the galaxy. Outside the viewport, Alliance ships moved in perfect formation toward destinations I couldn't even imagine, and somewhere among them my own people were beginning their journey toward transcendence. The first noise from Maya Torres hadn't been a scream. It had been an invitation, and I had just said yes.